Now let's understand how we can pass these parameter values using query string approach, right? Let's say we don't want to apply this approach to pass these parameter values from the routing approach, right? So, so let's look into the picture. For that, we need to create one action method, and this time let's name it search details, right? And along with these parameters, let's add some more parameters like we can have name of a customer, then we can have age, and what else we can have, let's say balance, right? Let's save the changes. Now we have defined action method. So what we are going to do, we are basically trying to pass these parameter values from the URL using query string approach, right? So for this action method, we need to define routing also. So let's define routing, and for define route, we need to define in the square bracket, and then we need to define pattern, so which we can call this action method from the URL, right? So that's it. Save the changes and run the application. Yeah, one more thing. Let me change the message of this method. Now this time it is search details, right? That's it. Save the changes and run the application, right? Let me put a breakpoint over here and run the application. You can see our application has been built successfully. It is loading, and now in the browser, in the URL, we need to call search. So you can see, for calling this action method search details, we need to pass this pattern in the URL, right? So I'm calling search, and now I'm pressing the enter key, and now you can see our control is hitting to this action method, right? But by default, you can see all the integer parameters, they must be having zero values, and all the string variable, they must be having null, right? These are the default values, right? So let me click on the continue, and now let's say we want to pass parameter value for ID using query string approach. So for that, we need to pass query string in the URL, and we need to pass parameter value for ID. Let's say we are passing 12, right? Now pressing the enter key, you can see in the ID parameter we are getting 12 value. So this is how we can pass parameter values from the URL using query string approach. And in all the variables, we must be having the default values. For name, it is null because it is a string variable, and for age, for balance, we are having 0 because they are integer variable. Now let's say we need to pass multiple parameter values from the URL using the query string. So how we can do this? For passing multiple parameter values, we need to concatenate with this AND operator, and then we need to pass name of a parameter. Let's say we need to pass name of a customer, and then we can assign the value for this parameter, right? Let's say we need to pass one more parameter, then the same we will write AND operator, and then we need to pass, let's say this time we are going to pass age, right? And now pressing the enter key, you can see our control is hitting to this action method search details, and in the ID we are having same 12. Now this time in the name we are having weapon, whatever we have passed in the URL, and in the age we are having 22, and in the balance and in the account number we are having default values, right? So this is the process to pass multiple values parameter, to pass basically parameter multiple parameter values in the URL by using the query string approach, right? We can see how we can have pass how we can pass these multiple parameter values using the query string approach, right? So that's it for the query string. Let me stop the application. But remember one thing, that we used to deal with the query string when we ever need to pass small amount of information in the URL, right? Query string is not a good approach to pass a large amount of data in the URL, right? For passing less amount of information in the URL, we can go for the query string approach, right? So that's it for the query string.